Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ plus story for today. I'm Angel Martinez, and let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Florida teacher is fired for using high school student's preferred name. A Florida high school teacher is out of a job after she called a student by their chosen name without parental permission. Melissa Cannon, a teacher at Satellite High School, will not have her contract renewed following a district investigation. The issue? She referred a student by a name different from the one on school records, which violates a 2023 Florida Board of Education rule. In a statement to Florida today, Brevard Public Schools spokesman Janet Murnaghan said, "At BPS, our focus is on education. Teachers are here to teach and support students academically. Our job is to work in partnership with parents and guardians to ensure student success." End quote. The rule requires a signed, quote, parental authorization form, end quote, form for any student who wants to go by a name other than their legal name, one, even a nickname. Cannon admitted she, quote, knowingly did not comply with the state statute, end quote, and was issued a letter of reprimand. The state will now review her teaching certification, but students and staff at Satellite High are rallying behind her. A petition gained over 3,000 signatures in one day. At the recent school board meeting, several people showed up with handmade signs and emotional statements. Cannon's case is reportedly the first publicized job loss tied to the Florida's name use rule. For LGBTQ plus students, it's another reminder of how politics can intrude on personal identity and how affirming teachers may now be punished for simply showing support. I mean, it's very unfortunate, like we're having such a hostile environment for teachers now too. It's now trickling down into the schools, and it's the current administration, just everything that's going on. I mean, it shouldn't have to be like this. It shouldn't be this way for students.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of teachers in the area, and especially that are identify as LGBTQ plus, and it's been a progression for them, over the months that they've had to kind of take away things that kind of symbolize LGBTQ. It could be a pride flag, it could be a picture of their partner on their desk,
a safe space sticker on their door.
Right. So it's really hard. So obviously this is a targeted. Showing us, what could possibly happen.
Yeah.
In a county that obviously, doesn't support LGBTQ plus, community.
We're not far from Brevard County where we're at right now. We're in Broward County, and you do 50 miles up and we'll get to Brevard. It's right there. Right. It doesn't surprise me that the first of this kind of loss of job to a teacher would happen in Florida. Right. I'm not too surprised about that, but, it's heartbreaking. And, teachers are angels. OK, teachers are angels on earth. That's it. I don't care whatever kind of teacher you are, you're an angel. The fact that you get to educate another human being and make them a better person. Right. You walk away, teachers get paid shit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And yet they're angels, okay? In high school, knowing that I was gay, the teacher was my safe space. My theater teacher was my safe classroom to not get beat up when I was out in the gym, right? The necessity is so there. They create that safe space, and now this happens to this woman. Teachers are called to be teachers. Okay, let's say that, because it's like I'm the first one to say, you guys don't get paid shit. You're treated awfully. You have to deal with some kids that might beat you up, and you still want to be a teacher. Yes, every single time you ask a teacher that was my calling. That was what I want to do. My thought is, who ratted this woman out? Right? Because you need parental authorization to be able to give somebody a nickname, right? So you have to get a paper signed by their mother. I know my relationship with my mother was always very difficult. And if there was anything that I wanted, she was not going to help. So she was not going to sign a paper for anything that I needed or wanted if it had anything to do with LGBTQ, So this kid doesn't want to be dead named. He wants to be named what he feels is his name, and they're not allowing him to. And the teacher's like, F you, I'm going to call you what you want to be called. So kudos to this teacher for being the angel that she is and being able to say, okay, hey, I'm going to take my hit, whatever it is, and I'm still going to call you by what you prefer to be called, because that is the human thing to do.
Right, absolutely.
The interesting, I was reading some information on this, and there are 13 other states that have similar
13.
13 states that have similar issues with their school board. But there was a quote from Stanek that spoke very passionately to the school board members about her colleague, and that the quote was, "Her offense, ? An unintentional violation of a nickname policy. There was no harm, no threat to safety, no malicious intent, just a teacher trying to connect with a student. And for that, her contract was not renewed, despite her strong dedication and years of service," end quote. And I just find, as you said, they're angels in our community. And when I think back to my teachers, I still remember some of my teachers, and they make huge impact in people's lives.
Oh, they absolutely
They have
do.
that power and ability to do that, and you're stifling it.
Yeah, I had my chorus teacher, Jackie Washak, who was so supportive of me. The only thing that I found solace in high school was music. And so, I had to be in chorus. And so, she brought me right in, with everybody, all the other guys that were, gay back then. And so, it was a safe space to, just be artistic and be creative. And, I valued that so much because, like you, I never wanted to go to gym. I never wanted to take my clothes up in a locker room. I never wanted to go anywhere without, that support. So it was scary for me in high school. So, these teachers, we need to stick behind them.
Absolutely.
Look, like I said, we need LGBTQ plus schools.
Yeah.
All these teachers need to quit these places. We need to start having our own private schools for all our kids, and that's how we go.
Right.
What were you thinking about, honey?
No, it's teachers, sometimes they're the only support network for these students. Unfortunately, we have parents that are not always supportive to the LGBTQ plus community, just like you were saying, Faye. And I think, this teacher, she was brave, she actually stood up for the student. And if I had, I don't have kids, I do want to have kids one day. And I would be, if my kid was, wanted, to change their name and, and wanted to be addressed, right? Like, pronouns too, like that support, that would mean the world to me.
Yeah.
You're supporting, my child, it's just, we need more teachers like that show solidarity.
Exactly. Well, that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing